And he's a warrior. He's a warrior. He was not afraid of this country that, frankly, he should have been afraid of because they're very powerful. I want to thank Tamim because Tamim is, these three people have been unbelievable. Tamim, and then UAE, Mohammed. These are three great people. And they were under tremendous attack, unexpected attack. And they weren't thinking this was going to happen. Nobody was. And they turned against them and really became very powerfully aligned. And they were with us, but they weren't with us very obliquely. They were with us. But I think that I have to acknowledge for their bravery because they were being hit pretty hard. All three of them, they were being hit pretty hard. The Emir, Mohammed, you had two Mohammeds and a Tamim, and they're friends of mine. And also I have to say that Bahrain and Kuwait, they were stand up, more so than NATO, I want to tell you, more so than NATO. Now, they were a little closer to the action than NATO in all fairness, but very disappointed with NATO, but I wasn't disappointed with our allies in the Middle East and others. And others. We had tremendous support from countries that were not in the general area, but they were tremendously supportive. I think Turkey was fantastic, actually fantastic, and they stayed out of things that we asked them to, and he's a great leader. He's a great leader. And Indonesia was great. We had so many great, you learn who your friends are, really do. You learn who your friends are. And but Indonesia, Turkey, and so many other countries. But the five were great. But your dear friend and my dear friend he was all man. He stood up and he wasn't scared. Maybe he was, I don't know. Maybe he was, but he didn't show it. He was great, a great leader. Saudi Arabia can be very proud of because he's got a lot of titles. He's the crown prince. He's the prime minister. He's the future king. He's got about 7 other titles. I said, you have more titles than any human being on earth. He's everything. And he deserves to be because he's a winner. So I just want to thank those people. So the Middle East will be transformed, and the future of that region I don't think it's ever looked brighter. You couldn't have, we did the Abraham Accords. I hope you're going to be getting into the Abraham Accords finally. Yeah, so will you please go back and explain? It's time now. Mohammed said, oh yes, as soon as we do this, as soon as we do that. I said, Mohammed, we did that. Oh yes, but we have a couple of other things. It's now time. We've now taken them out and they are out bigly. We got to get into the Abraham Accords. And we hope all of the countries are going to be in the Abraham Accords. We have some very brave countries that did it, years ago. They went in, and you know who they are, the early four, and they did a great thing in doing it, and it was great for them also economically, but it was a great thing that they did it. But I think all the Middle Eastern countries are going to be joining now. And in some cases, I would say all the Middle Eastern countries and beyond. You have people not in the Middle East that want to be members. You'll be seeing that soon. In the meantime, the conflict in Iran also makes it absolutely vital for the radical left Democrats in Congress to immediately end their dangerous shutdown of our Department of Homeland Security. They want to play games. That's all they are. These people are lunatics. They sort of remind me actually a little bit of Iran. They're deranged. They're deranged Democrats. For 42 days, they've tried to completely eliminate funding for the number one duty of government, which is keeping America safe. And they want no ICE. They want no border patrol. They want no protection of any kind to be given, reopening our borders and stopping all immigration enforcement in our country. They want to have our borders be open again. We took in 25 million people. We've gotten a lot of them out. Tremendous numbers of people that should never have been here. Over 4 long years before my election, these same radical, lunatic Democrats let 25 million people pour across our borders like they were nothing, like they were non-existent. These people were totally unvetted, unchecked, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, vicious criminals, even the criminally insane. In 2024, the American people voted in a landslide to stop the invasion of our country. And I won all 7 swing states by millions and millions of votes. We won the Electoral College by a massive number. We won the popular vote, millions and vote, just millions. This was a big election. I loved every minute of it. And for the first time, no Republicans done anything like this in decades, but for the first time we won the counties of America. That's a big one. 2,700 to 525. 2,700 to 525. 87% of the vote. We won 87% of the counties. In other words, it was a mandate like our country has not seen in many decades. It was a mandate for an ideology, which is an ideology. They've ever been before. You know, I heard the other day, I think that he's losing the MAGA base. I said, really? Because of the war. See, I get into a war. Of course, they call it a war. I call it a military conflict. But there's a reason for that. But you get into a war or a military conflict for you, and then they say, my base. I said, no. MAGA is stronger than ever because MAGA's make America great again. But my MAGA people, which is the greatest phrase in the history of politics, it's the most important movement by far, probably in the history of the world. I mean, you know, there's never been anything like this. And in fact, just a few days ago, you have to understand, the fake news right back, oh, that's a lot of fake news. Yeah, so you brought a lot of fake news with you. They must know you're going to make a speech at some point because look at the... But what happened is the fake news was saying, he may, they hope. You know, it's like, oh, we got to get rid of this guy. They say, he may be losing his MAGA base. And that would be maybe the end of him. And then I happened to be watching CNN, which is terrible. They treat me terribly. In fact, just a few days ago, CNN had a poll that had me at 100% of MAGA voters. They said they've never seen anything like that. Can you put that up? I actually said if you could put it up. Do you have the technology to put it up? Go ahead, give it a shot.